Hey everybody, thanks for coming down today. I'm Luedtke. I do represent the best district in Montgomery County, District 14, although the districts are okay too. I'm the House Majority Leader here now, which means this has been the busiest session of my life. But I did want to talk about a couple of the big issues that we're discussing this session. And starting with the biggest, which is the blueprint for Maryland's future, our effort to make sure that every kid has access to world-class schools. I am more than excited that this bill is going to pass this session. I'm fully confident it will pass. I was a school teacher, and when I ran for office, this was the work I wanted to do. If we are successful in fully implementing it and funding it over the next 10 years, we will have the best schools in the world. And that will mean a lot, not just for individual kids, but for the future of our economy. In all the conversations about our economy, people focus on things like corporate tax incentives and stuff like that. But Maryland has a knowledge economy, right? And our economy is rooted in our human resources, not our capital resources. It's about the workforce that we have. That's what attracts companies to Maryland. So making sure we have high quality schools is the single best investment we can make in our economic future as a state. The challenge, I think, is how to fund it. And we've been having a lot of conversations about that. There are dozens, literally, of proposals on the table to raise revenue to help fund it. One of them is mine. You may have read about it in the paper. It's gotten a little bit of attention. And we're having a hearing on that on Monday. We expect it to be many, many hours. But you know, at the end of the day, here's what you should know about the funding. We have the first 3 years already paid for because we've been setting aside money for the last few years knowing this was coming. And I am confident that at minimum we will come out of this session with a few $100 million more to invest in our schools on top of what we've already put away. And that will put us in a place where we can begin full implementation of Kerwin, but we will have to continue to work over the next decade to make sure that people in positions like mine and current and future governors are held accountable for the promises that we're making to Maryland kids this year. And that's going to be a lot on folks like you, right? Because there's a lot of attention and focus on it this year. One of the things that happened the last time we did this with the Thornton recommendations is that the political will died away to fully fund forward, right? When it passed in 2003, without any funding for it at all, by the way, no new funding, or no new revenue at least. You know, we had this commitment. We said over 10 years we're going to invest this much more in our schools, and we never did it. And we never did it because of a lack of political will, and we never did it because we had a recession. And we can't be in that position today. You know, bottom line, I appreciate everyone coming down today. I hope that WDC continues, and I expect it will, continues to advocate for adequate funding for our schools for the next 10 years. You know, I mean, other than that, I'm happy to take any questions if you'd like, or if anyone has any questions.
What can be done to make the fiscal note a little more realistic on the fiscal note on the pre-release centers? Because that's related, as we discussed earlier. If you have women who can't reintegrate into their communities after prison, their children are not going to benefit from Kerwin. They're going to screw up regardless. You can't throw money at a kid who's in an insufficiently stable situation and expect it to work.
Yeah.
So can you say anything about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, first let me take a step back and say that all this work we're doing in our schools, there's other work that needs to be done outside of our schools that will also benefit schools.
Right.
And you raised one of them, but, you know, a lot of the challenges we're facing in classrooms all over the state is kids come to school with trauma, with all sorts of issues that schools can't adequately address. And yeah, we need to give schools resources to address them, but also we need to fix the problems in the community, right? So for example, the city of Baltimore has a significant challenge right now with violent crime, right? The governor has come in and proposed 1950 solutions to it. Lock everybody up. Reinstitute mandatory minimums. We know, as empirical fact, those things don't work. He doesn't seem to care. So we've developed our own package of legislation, which does include penalties for certain things, like witness intimidation, but also uses a public health approach to try to stem violence in communities. And things like that will absolutely have impacts on our schools. As kids' communities are safer places where they can, walk down the street to the rec center without worrying about getting shot, then that will help those kids, right? As the Women's Pre-Release Center, there's only so much you can do with a fiscal note. Doing the right thing costs money. And I think one of the failures of politicians generally, and I've been saying this as we've been talking about that service to sales tax proposal, is that too many politicians try to convince the American people they can get something for nothing, right? It's the greatest con in American politics. And a lot of our residents have bought into that. And I think we need to be more blunt in having conversations with people. Like, you want services, I agree with you. You gotta find out how to pay for them. So the Women's Pre-Release Center is absolutely something we should do, not just as a criminal justice matter, but frankly as a civil rights matter, and an equal rights matter. So, I mean, I would tend more towards taking the tack of making the case that this is money worth investing. Let's find the money in the budget. Governor doesn't need another set of heated sidewalks. We can spend the money on this instead. That's a real thing, by the way.
So to follow up
Yeah.
on first, there are 9 men's pre-release centers
Yeah.
and 0 women.
Yep.
Why couldn't they take one of the men's, rehab it, redistribute the men, and have one for women that would be a lower fiscal note? I mean, just like from a creativity standpoint.
Sure, that's a great question.
So that's my one. And then the second was, so I serve on the board of the chamber, so I'm going to have the business perspective from the services taxation. A lot of the business community is very afraid of Kerwin because they fear that it's going to be, the payment of it is going to be put on the backs of business. And we're already in a stressful time in Montgomery County in terms of growing businesses. And so what the business community would like to see is more of a balanced approach across the board. And so is there adjustment in the bill that you passed that can help? Because the business community is going to be full force of that.
Oh, yeah. No,
they don't want
everybody
anything
is.
to do with that.
My social media mentions are not a happy place right now.
Right. So is there anything that you can do to make it a more universal, where everybody shares in it, where the business community doesn't feel like it's
Sure.
being put on their backs?
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, we have a range of proposals. The service to sales tax proposal is the one that has gotten the most media attention. And in part, that's because, you know, the governor's trying to make political hay out of it.
That's right.
You know, there are a bunch of options on the table, and I've been very open with. What's
The
that?
carbon tax is one.
Sure, I mean, there's tons. You know, I've been very open with the state chamber, with a lot of organizations that represent different industries that would be affected by the bill. I've been meeting with people and having conversations. I get that. I understand that argument that, you know, that it should be more widespread. But that's also kind of the impetus for the bill, right? Because, you know, the business community would have some impacts if we expanded the sales tax to services, certainly through, in particular, business-to-business services, right? But residents would too. Everybody would end up with skin in the game, right? And, you know, so the conversation that we need to be having more long-term, and I think we do need a longer-term conversation about the mix of revenue and how we raise revenue for the state. We need to have a conversation about the right way to approach it, and maybe this bill isn't it, and I'm totally open to that. I think if it were to move, then we would need to make significant changes to portions of it. There are things in there that frankly we shouldn't be taxing, that have been raised by constituents as we've been discussing it. But you know, at the end of the day, if we don't do something, because the economy is shifting from goods to services, if we don't do something to make sure that services also are part of the equation, then the sales tax over time becomes less and less and less effective, right? And we have to look at other sources of revenue like the income tax and the property tax. And those also have concerns related to it. Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank you for putting out ideas. And so, because if we were to have this huge, massive bill, we do need a range of ideas. And then maybe if people like really hate an idea, they can be for something else and not just be against everything. So that's my message. So I want to thank you. And second of all, I wanted to talk about in Kerwin recommendations. So parts of it puts money towards schools with concentration of poverty, and then maybe some of those funds follow kids where they are. I just want to share with you that sometimes the concentration of poverty creates incentives to isolate kids in certain schools. So I just kind of want to be like Title I, because they say, oh, well, you know, if a school loses that magic number, then they lose a whole bunch of money. So I'm hoping either people are thinking about doing graduation, you know,
fall.
So it's not a cliff.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So then they can't say, you know, let's say if you wanted to put a program, or even if you built another school. So what happened one time is that there was a school built, and then they were like, oh yeah, we can't take too many of these kids because they'll lose Title I.
Sure.
And that would be horrible. So they get the old, really crappy schools without sprinklers and stuff, because they don't even participate in the brand new school because they need the Title I funds to keep that school going. We don't want to do that with Kerwin. So I
Not
just
an
kind of wanted
incentive to
put that out there.
concentrate poverty on the backs of brown and black children.
Yeah, and I think there are communities where that's more of a challenge, right? You know, in a lot of Baltimore City, it's hard to break up concentrations
Oh,
of
yeah.
poverty
Yes.
just because there's
It's
so much.
impossible.
Right?
Yeah.
In counties like ours, I mean, that's got to be part of the conversation. I believe the way the bill, and I'd have to check it in certain, but I believe the way the bill is written right now, it's not a cliff.
Okay.
There's a gradual fall off in funding when you fall out of being a concentration of poverty school. You know, the larger challenge with that in Montgomery County is just how we do our school district,
Yes.
right? And I know that's a hot topic of conversation in the county. We did include language in the bill specifically asking counties to take a look at enrollment patterns and make sure, just as a little nudge to say, hey, you know, this is something you should be paying attention to. But I'll say this, you know, in that debate, there are parents who are legitimately worried about their kids being bused longer distances to school. I'm a parent, I get that. There are also folks who just don't buy the idea that segregation is bad.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about racial segregation necessarily, I'm talking about socioeconomic segregation, right? And for all that, the debate in Montgomery County has been contentious so far, the debate in Howard County was very contentious. I think it's a healthy debate for us to be having as a county, right? Because I'll tell you, and this comes from my own experience, I grew up in Montgomery County. I went to Wooten High School, which, as you know, is a very wealthy high school. I thought I was poor because I didn't get a new car when I turned 16, like one of my classmates. Right? Turns out I wasn't particularly poor, comfortably middle class. I didn't know there were poor people in Montgomery County when growing up. It wasn't part of my daily experience. I didn't know. And I went to work in the school system, and I worked in 2 high poverty middle schools in Montgomery County. And I had kids whose parents were picked up by ICE while they were in school. I had kids whose parents never saw their parents because their parents were working 2 or 3 jobs to put food on the table. I had kids in Montgomery County who would leave school on a Friday and were pretty sure they weren't going to have another bite to eat till Monday morning at school breakfast because the only meals they got were at school. That exists in Montgomery County, and it exists in concentrated ways, and it's bad not just for those individual kids, it's bad for the community. It's bad for all our kids. And we've let that go on for too long. We like to think of ourselves as a very enlightened community, and in a lot of ways we are, but I don't think we've ever fully come to grips with the legacy of both racial and socioeconomic segregation. And that's the conversation we need to have. And as far as I'm concerned, let's pull up the Band-Aid and have that conversation. So, you know, I think that's a conversation that's likely to be ongoing, not just in Montgomery County, but in a number of counties around the state that are experiencing similar issues. I mean, like I said, you have counties where there's so much concentrated poverty that, you know, school distributions won't affect things that much. But there's no reason that we should have school districts, school boundaries in Montgomery County, and we do, where you have a school with kids that are, the vast majority of them are in poverty, right next to a school that's undercrowded, it's under-enrolled, that is almost entirely white and wealthy. That makes no sense to me. So, for what it's worth.
I need to ask a question.
Yes.
Or make a statement. What really concerns me about all of this, what I've read and people that I've talked to, and I'm an educator,
Can you speak up?
is that
Can't hear you.
it appears to me that we're still very much divided, as you're saying, pretty much, about working through some of these issues. And I say that because, another reason I'm saying it is because I've received just recently, a few nights ago, an invitation to attend a meeting, and it appears that the meeting is, you know, it's all minorities, African Americans, other minorities, and it doesn't appear that there are other people that are involved in the conversation. So I am hopeful and really, really hopeful that we're going to actually work on these issues that we still face together, right? Not just as separate groups. That's exactly right.
That's right.
So I'm really concerned I mean, I'm really dealing with with people at national levels, and, Montgomery County and other areas
Microphone.
that really know about what we're trying to do and have an interest in it, right? So I guess I'm making a statement, but I'm also saying that I'm hopeful that here, at this level, that we're going to work together and not have these separate entities and separate groups working and putting together things, because otherwise it just isn't going to work. I have to tell you that.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely. I mean, I would add to that we have a larger problem in our political discourse right now, and I think we're seeing it in Montgomery County. We've lost faith in each other. Right? We really, I mean, as a people in this country, we've lost faith in each other. We kind of assume that because somebody disagrees with us, they're evil, or something's motivating them, or we ignore them, and we, hide in our friend group on Facebook and post things that get likes and unfriend anyone who doesn't like it. And I am a firm believer that the people writ large are intelligent people. That you can have conversations with the vast majority of people, and if you approach it in the right way, challenge their preconceptions, right? I think conversations like that, you're right, it should involve everybody, but it starts with all of us talking to our neighbors and having that conversation, right? And it's not, hey, you don't believe this is a problem, you're coming from a different place. It's, hey, let me tell you my perspective, let me tell you my point of view, I appreciate your point of view, right? And that's what I'm getting with the services sales tax right now, is all these people writing in saying, evil Eric. Some group put out a wall of shame. But look, people are open to the conversations, and they don't expect their political leaders to be willing to have those conversations, and a lot of times they don't expect it of their neighbors either. So I agree with you completely. You're 100% right. I will say though, at the end of the day, and this is a fact of political debate and policy making, not everybody's going to agree, and I tend to assume as a starting point that at least 35% of the people are going to disagree with every individual decision I make, right?
But we have to meet some.
Sure.
Right? And I'm really concerned about it because I don't see that happening. I mean, I don't see it happening. When you've got a faction that's meeting over here and no one else is involved, I mean, so I really don't see how we're going to be able to bridge the gap unless we get together with these different factions that are out there.
Agreed.
Hi. Some of it may just be language, the language that we use. I went to Montgomery County Public Schools, and when I was in school, when I graduated like 2 years ago.
Congratulations.
But those kids who came to school and had breakfast at school in the morning, we knew were low income. Montgomery County got very smart recently, and because rich kids weren't eating breakfast in the morning, not because they couldn't afford it, but their parents weren't there to serve it to them because they're busy in crazy lives. So now every kid in Montgomery County Public Schools has access to lunch. So you took away the stigma I'm sorry, not lunch, breakfast. You took away the stigma of breakfast. If I have breakfast in school, then I must be low income. And I carry that stigma around. You take it away, you serve breakfast to everyone. You tell a kid they go to a Title I school, a kid's gonna feel like they go to a Title I school. We've gotta pull those stigmas out. We have got to. This has gotta get balanced out. I can live in a low income neighborhood and be the smartest kid in my school. I can be the valedictorian. Take the stigma away with the language that we use.
It's fair too.
We're going to take a picture, but before we do that, I want to thank
I want to just close out with one thing before we take our picture, which is to say that this is why I like civic activism at the local level. You can move the needle, you can talk to your legislators, you can give them ideas, you can criticize their ideas, you can explain your ideas, and whether it's talking about race and socioeconomics at schools or any of the other aspects that we discussed today. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Delegate Luedtke. What?
Hold on, and then a picture.
Today, close of business is the last day you can get early bird pricing on the Montgomery County Democratic, brunch. Montgomery County Democratic Party brunch. You can do it online. I encourage you to do it. We've got fabulous speakers. Yvette Lewis is coming from the state. There's a wonderful labor leader speaking whose name is Sarah something. And the DC Labor Chorus is singing, and all your friends will be there. So go on the web today, right now, go on the phone and buy a ticket.
Here's one more thing.
One last thing is, thank you so much to Scott Weber, who comes to these events and does all of our, the photography, the videography, he does it all, and he does it so well. So thank you so much for doing that for us.
And I'm a member because it's important.
He tell you that.
Right.
He's just very kind. Thank you so much.
Okay? Everybody up for a picture, come on over here.